Hello and welcome to PAO Fans International Podcast. We are back. It's the American crew again, but this time it's just Alex and I. Alex, how are you doing, brother?
Good, Antoni. Nice to be back. Shorter than last time. A little less to talk about today, but still some good stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Last time we met was a couple weeks ago versus the time before that was like a month. So it is nice to be back in the seat talking about Panathinaikos. Like Alex shared, there's not too much to talk about just because of that brief turnaround. We've got some FC stuff and we've got some good basketball news as well to share. So we're gonna kind of get into it, and as usual, as per tradition, we're gonna start off with the FC, who had a game yesterday in the playoffs against Lamia. Panathinaikos ended up winning that game 3-1. It was an interesting game. Panathinaikos kind of continued their typical rhythm the last few weeks, conceding early, trying to claw their way back into the game. But ultimately, Panathinaikos won that game 3-1. Couple of great goals from Bernard and actually an insane first time strike from Tedin as well. Saw Panathinaikos take that win, much needed win against a side that's proven to be a little bit of a thorn in our side the last couple of times. So, Alex, I kind of want to just hand over the mic to you and just kind of get your overview of the game. How'd you kind of see things yesterday?
There weren't a lot of negatives, which is a good thing. The most glaring negative is, like you said, the conceding early, which that's now 4 out of 5 games in the playoffs where we've conceded first. The only one being the Aris clean sheet. Other than that, we've conceded first in every game, and not only first, but very early. Obviously the AEK was 4 minutes, PAOK was 2 minutes. This one was within the first 10 or 15 minutes, I think.
Yep.
Um, so, that's definitely a point of concern. And I said it on the last pod, like, okay, it's good that we're turning it around. Like, that's all you could ask for because at this point in the season, you just need to be getting the results. The only one where we didn't turn it around, obviously, is the PAOK. But other than that, we've been turning it around. So that's all I could ask for. But that's got to be fixed because, again, like I said 2 weeks ago, it's not sustainable. Like you can't keep making your job more difficult. So that's obviously a point of concern. But again, it's nice that we turned it around. We've had good responses at least, especially against AEK. The team responded very well after going 1-0 down. I mentioned you saw that change in tactics from Tareem. He was pressing more. He told the players to press more. The back line came up way higher. That was then. Okay, we don't need to talk about that much now. But again, even against Lamia, the response was good. So those are all positives in the negative. So make of it what you want. But I still think that needs to be addressed, and I think Tareem was cognizant of that. Obviously, I listened to the post match presser, so he's cognizant of it. Also, the good part is that most of those early goals that we conceded are coming from silly mistakes. Um, they're still mistakes, so it's not like that's an excuse, but they're kind of just like brain farts, which I think are more of like in the moment situations, which for me, in a weird way, concern me less, if that makes it,
Right.
a little bit of sense.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. It definitely does. That was my first thought when I saw Kotsiras with that boneheaded mistake, that led to that early goal at the beginning. I was just thinking to myself, man, again, this is like 2, 3 weeks in a row now where we're letting these stupid brain farts catch up to us. But I mean, the good thing is though, like you kind of mentioned, a positive to take away is that the team at least doesn't sulk. They've kind of found ways to fight back and get themselves into it. Now, eventually, your luck does run out in one capacity or another. We saw last year at the beginning, especially, we had that big stretch where we were just getting random like 90th minute winners or like equalizers. And in the end, it finally caught up to us. When we weren't able to find the goal, that was it. And we ended up losing. So definitely need to tighten up the bolts in the back. That's been a point of talk for a while now. just these silly little mistakes that they need to get themselves in order with. Which again, I agree with you too. Like they're those stupid like brain farts where it's like, okay, we can fix this. It's not like it's a just a glaring huge issue either. So definitely something that can be fixed. Something that kind of surprised me was seeing that we played like that 4-4-2 formation. Um, I was actually kind of I like the lineup actually. It was Spora, it was Foti, and then Bakasetas just behind. Cherino as that right central midfielder, and then I think Arau in the middle. And then on the left side, I think was it Bernard?
Yeah.
Forgetting exactly who it was. Yeah, Bernard. So I like that setup against a team like Lamia. That's definitely a time where you can kind of experiment that a little bit. I think Tareem had tried that a couple of weeks ago against PAOK, where he tried
Yeah.
that 4-4-2 again, and interesting to see him pulling that out again. Kind of just makes me think like, is this something that he's gearing toward using again against one of the bigger sides, against Orly or PAOK or whoever, or maybe it's something that he just wants to try out going into next year. I'm not really sure, but I kind of liked it because we've talked about it before. Where under Jova, I really wish I had seen a 4-4-2 formation sometimes. Um, Sporad again, unlucky, hit that side of the post when he was trying to get it past the keeper. He had that attempted bicycle kick as well, so it was nice to just see him in the 4-4-2 kind of come alive a little bit. Um, it he's a player where I think he is what he is at this point. But just having that extra body up front and having Foti playing off him as well as Bacacetas, I think it was really nice to see. And we saw some nice, almost like tiki taka ball with that formation. I just wanted to get kind of your thoughts on that too, Alex, about that 4-4-2. Is that something that you like to see, or do you like that more standard formation we play with Tareem?
Yeah, this was the big talking point, before the game, before a ball was kicked. And there's like two sides of it in a way. The one side is like you said, and we mentioned this post the PAO game, we were calling for this two striker formation for a while, not to become a staple, but at least to be tried even back to the Jova days. So when we saw it in PAOK, I was actually, kind of excited. Obviously, it didn't pan out, but what I want to say about this game, the reason I'm saying it's two sides is like, okay, you see this two striker formation, and the most recent experience we had with it, it didn't work out. So, maybe instinctually you're like, why are we doing this? But if you take a step back and think about it, what happened in the last Lamia game? Well, Lamia sat back, low block, 10 men behind the ball, didn't let us really play. So it makes a lot of sense actually for this. And that was, when we were talking about it on the spaces too, it's the right thing to do. And it makes more sense to do this against someone like Lamia rather than PAOK. The reason I think we could be critical about him doing it against PAOK is that do you really need to do that to utilize the two striker formation against PAOK? Because like we analyzed after the PAOK game, PAOK are a team that play heavily on the counter attack. They will let you play. They will let you have the ball. So do you actually how much do you need those two strikers against a team like PAOK versus how much do you need those two strikers against a team like Lamia who you've seen before as recently as whatever it was a month ago sit back. So my point is that the same thing can work much better against one opponent, as opposed to another one, regardless of the quality. Because of course, Lamia is much less quality, has much less quality, with all due respect, than PAOK. But something like this, on paper, tactically, is going to be more effective against them, or at least more worth doing or trying against them rather than PAOK. And you could just see that in terms of the results and how both games PAOK and Lamia played out. Um, Basically, my point is like you don't because of how PAOK are going to line up and how their style of play is, you don't need to overcommit in your attack, at least tactically. Lamia, kind of you do, and we did see him use this more attacking formation, which I liked before. I know it's hindsight bias, so it's easy to say we liked it because it worked out. But even before a ball was kicked, I'm like, yes, this is good because when we drew 2-2 to Lamia, we were very critical of Tareem because it wasn't solely his fault, but how Lamia is going to line up. And we said this after the game, they're a team that sits back, and they've done it all season. They even back to last season when okay they weren't as good last season, but they're a very physical team. They sit back. They're going to play scrappy. Um, so him putting out this lineup to me showed that he learned something, took something away from that, failure that was the 2-2 draw late in the regular season. And he even said that as much himself. Like I said, I watched the post game presser, and he said, basically verbatim, like we learned our lesson from the last Lamia game, and that just even before a ball was kicked, that formation told me that yes, you did learn something from that Lamia game. So I was critical for him back then, and I'm going to give him credit now because that's just how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. That 4-4-2, especially against those types of sides where they sit low block and they defend, definitely good to kind of, you know, use what we've got in terms of offensive talent. I mean, again, Foti, Sporar, Bacacetas, we had Bernard who really ran havoc. Even Serin did as well. So it was good. Props to Tareem, man. I really do like that he switched that up. I've been critical of him before as well, and I wasn't really happy with that Lamia result, but it's good to see that he does those positive things where he tinkers with the side
Yeah,
when it's needed. So that's the good thing because you also again, like it goes back to it's just gonna keep happening. Yova and Tareem. A lot of people didn't like that Yova was a little more set in his ways. Tareem seems to be the opposite where he adjusts. So I do like that as well. And that 4-4-2, especially to your point as well, against a side like Lamia, who we should definitely be beating. You can kind of afford to play a type of formation like that versus against PAO. Um, it's a bit of a gamble because they're gonna punish you if you get caught out on the defensive end. So I like
and
it.
another thing I want to highlight about the 4-4-2 is that first of all, I thought Spora was actually very good again this game. He obviously got the critical goal against Aris, and he didn't find the score sheet against Lamia, but I think he actually had a pretty good game. Um, what I wanted to highlight specifically is that we've been calling for the 4-4-2 to benefit Foti because we've talked so much about how Foti is that kind of like that second striker. He has, more attributes that fit that second striker position rather than your go-to number 9 traditionally. But I actually think the 4-4-2 equally benefited Spore, at least this past Sunday, if not more. I think Spore might have even been better than Foti this past Sunday. And the reason I'm saying that is because one thing that we've been very critical about Spore over his, whatever it is, 2-year tenure now at with us is that his movement is not very good. He's kind of like a statue more often than not, and that obviously doesn't help him get into good positions and scoring, regardless of how good or bad his finishing is at the time. But I saw that his movement on Sunday was pretty good, and he was getting into like many spaces, especially that one play that you mentioned where he hit the outside of the post. He was in plenty of space where he the defender was kind of past him, and he had enough time to kind of beat the goalie, and then he put himself in an unfavorable position with a closed angle. But I just saw him getting like away from his defenders quite a bit, especially on that one that we just talked about. And I think I just wanted to point out that 4-4-2, even though we are always calling for it to benefit Foti, at least this Sunday, it did just as much to benefit Spore, if not more, which I found really encouraging. Because listen, if you could utilize a 4-4-2 and it's benefiting Foti and Spore, who you have your traditional number 9, and then you have your Cam number 9 hybrid, then you're talking about like a really dangerous duo. Um, Again, even especially if Spore is kind of, I don't want to say picking up because it's only been like a couple of games where he's been pretty good, but that could be a pretty good asset down the road. Um, so yeah, that was really encouraging to see that oh, I was going to say 4R. 4R used it to his
4R.
advantage on Sunday. 4R.
4R, that would be their little duo nickname, like
Yeah, yeah,
Robin and Rebery, robbery.
yeah.
They're 4R. But yeah, to your point as well as what you're talking about, Sporar does really good with Slovenia and they play a 4-4-2. Like, I've watched, there was, I think, not this past international break, but the one before. Sporar, I think, scored a couple of goals, and the thing that I noticed is like he was a lot more mobile in that 4-4-2, and he just seemed so much more comfortable. Like they were playing him through. Um, the Slovenians in general, I mean, Terin looked really good as well, and Verbic, I remember, played in that game. I think it must have been in November time or something like that. But yeah, I mean, the 4-4-2 definitely could be something that could perhaps unlock a different side of Sporar, because for the national team, he seems to be doing a pretty decent job. It's just about getting him to start firing with us. And if he can start to fire now, for us, I mean, that will be really, really huge, especially with Forti in his current form. So
You know,
yeah, man, that's encouraging.
Foti does. We've talked about his hold up play. We've talked about all of this. What he does so well is he attracts. How bad? He attracts players to him. So whether he has the ball or not, he's attracting players to himself. So that gives Spore a less players to get loose from, and B more space on the pitch to occupy in front in a more an advanced position from Foti. So it's just I don't know. I don't think it's something that the 4-4-2 is going to be something that is going to become a staple or can work against everyone. Of course, like we just said, 2 out of 3 games in the past, 2 out of the 3 past games, we use it and we've seen it not work and we've seen it work. So that's just a small sample size of like you just got to use it selectively. But against the right opponent, it could be really beneficial. And like I've harped on, it just so good to see it benefiting Sporar because in our minds it was only like, okay, this is going to benefit Forti, this is going to benefit Forti, but it's so good to see it going beyond that.
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely. It's something to consider as the fans, where we, like myself as well. I was thinking, Foti, that was my main idea, where Foti's going to really benefit in this system. But I mean, naturally, you're going to be playing Sporar too, so he would naturally also benefit from that type of system. So, definitely, something that we could see in the future, something maybe we won't be seeing as much, and we never really know. But it is something that for us as fans, I think we like to see that change. We kind of welcome it a little bit there. Now, in terms of the game itself, again, back to the Lamia game, standout performer for you, was it Bernard? Was it Arau? Was it Foti?
I think the best two on the pitch were Bernard and Arau. Yeah. I mean Bernard, twice on the score sheet. Both goals were just excellently taken. The free kick was top shelf stuff. The the other goal, you're how can I put it? It's not gonna get as much attention as the free kick, but it's a well taken goal too because just the touch that he took before, like I thought he took that touch and it looked like he opened it up a little too much. And I was like, fuck, now the goalie's gonna, come collect it. But he opened it up just enough and then baited the goalie in and then just dinked it over him. Like that is, that's in many ways just as difficult as placing that free kick in the top 90. So again, it's not going to get as much attention as the free kick, I think, but both goals were just, I think, top quality stuff, and it just shows his quality. And it's a capitulates what he's been, since Tareem came, but especially these last however many games, 10 games, whatever. Like he's just been a catalyst, and he's man of the match more often than not, really. So it's really nice to see. It's kind of bittersweet because we know where this is going in 6 games. But again, I every time he has a performance like this, and we've talked about this before, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But every time he has a performance like this, like you get the people on the socials, and they're like, how do we let him go? Again, he didn't have this performance in the first half, so there's only a certain amount I could blame the team for not looking to extend him. Um, you making these comments now, you Royal, you not anyone specifically, is a lot of hindsight bias because yes, he's been on fire this second half of the season, but when you're negotiating the contract, you're negotiating based on current form and output. So his first season was up and down. His first half of this season was pretty good. He had a hat trick against Panathinaikos and stuff like that. I'm not saying it was bad, but most of us weren't for re-signing then. And now everyone is like, oh my God, like we're so mad that it's re-signed. It's like, okay, like I get it. I get it. And that's why I'm saying it's bittersweet because it's going so well now and he's showing so much passion and literally nothing is going wrong right now and everything he's touching is turning to gold. So I understand the calls for the re-sign and the bittersweetness, but it is what it is. He himself said in the game after Lamia that he does want to return back to Brazil. So I mean, obviously I know he's signed, so it's like, what is he going to say? I don't want to go to Brazil. Take it with a grain of salt, but let's just assume that is the 100% truth. It's also not good to keep someone who kind of wants to be somewhere else also. Like that's more often than not going to start bleeding into their performances. So again, bittersweet. It's going to be sad to see him go. He's doing so much for the club right now, but it just is what it is, and just enjoy it while it lasts, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, his performance not only in yesterday's game, but in the I mean, ever since Tareem really came on, is he's been playing the way that I had expected him to play when he
Yeah,
signed with that big contract. Uh,
yeah,
that's how I thought he was going to be playing the whole time. So to your point as well, I mean, him not returning, it is bittersweet because that's exactly what I was thinking. Like I wanted him to come back, but up to the point of the contract negotiations, I mean, if they even had any, he wasn't playing up to that form. It's after
right.
Tareem came that he suddenly found this like second wind, so to speak. And um, in this case, anyway, I mean, it might be a good thing too because maybe if he extended, he wouldn't have been playing like this. Maybe he's playing like this because he knows he's going to leave and he wants to give the
Good
club his
point.
last hurrah. I mean, you
Yeah,
never know. It's a game of what ifs.
good point.
But what matters is the here and now, and he can help us to win a title now. So I'm super happy that he's like really turned it up. And to me, it's kind of a I think I remember the Australians having a convo about this where it's kind of like you know, almost like a noble thing where you're gonna leave. So, some players are kind of like I'm gone at the end of the summer, so I'm just gonna kind of like lazily make my way through. But he's playing harder than he ever has, and I just like that. I mean, you can have different viewpoints of it. I mean, there's players that they'll go about things a little bit differently. But I like that Bernard is like, no, I'm these last 6 games, I'm at
Yeah,
Panathinaikos, I'm Panathinaikos player. I'm gonna put my body on the line, I'm gonna play. And I just like to see that. And that just makes my respect for the guy go up even higher. So
yeah,
that free kick goal, I mean, that second goal, incredible. I mean, he was winning his celebration, he was just like gassed from making that extra run. And he could have had a hat trick, man. Like he shot
oh
the
yeah,
ball over the bar. He missed another chance as well. His free kick was beautiful. Like he really showed class, and he kind of showed why at one point he was playing in the Premier League. So super happy with that. For me, that was the performer of the game, the standout of the game for sure. Um, and yeah, I just hope this kind of carries over into the next games. And we're gonna play Lamia again. This time we're gonna play them away.
yep.
Now, does this game and this kind of performance, do you think it's gonna carry over into Lamia, or do you think we're gonna see a different kind of game away?
Interestingly enough, Lamia played more open than I think many of us expected. There was a period, and I'm not just saying that because they scored first. And by the way, their first goal was actually a well taken goal. It wasn't no scrappy bullshit.
Yeah, it was a nice
But
goal.
regardless of if they scored first or not, they played pretty open. There was like the first 20-minute period about where the game had a really good rhythm. Like it was back and forth, end to end stuff, chances for both teams, kind of. So they actually played more open than I think most of us expected. Um, they listen. I know they got nothing to lose. They have collected no points in the playoffs, and that they certainly, apart from being a disruptor team in the playoffs, they also don't want to leave having collected no points at the end of these 10 games. So since they have nothing to lose and they want to be disruptor and they want to collect some points, they are probably going to play more open now than they did in the end of the regular season. In the end of the regular season, they were just trying to get to those playoffs. So even a point in Belforos was big for them. Now, I mean, they'll definitely take a point to say we got a point and we disrupted, but they'll play for the win. They'll play for the point. So I expect a pretty similar thing to what they showed us this Sunday. So if I just pick like Lamia end of regular season or Lamia first match day 5 of the playoffs, I'm gonna say we're gonna see match day 5 of the playoffs. Lamia again, more open. They'll be trying to create some stuff. Again, they've lost some players. Carlitos is no longer there, but yeah, I don't see any reason for them to play close. Even when they went up 1-0, like they were not really sitting back like they were at the end of the regular season. So I would expect more of the same.
Yeah, I can definitely see it because they really don't have anything to play for. Necessarily speaking of sitting back and trying to defend some type of uh standing where they're at. Might as well just go out, play some ball. Players are going to probably want to showcase themselves a little bit. Maybe they're going to be looking for a new place to go in the summertime. Maybe they're going to look for an extension picked up from another team. You never really know. So I'm also thinking that we're likely going to see something similar. I can see Tareem kind of going again for something offensive minded. My hope is that again we don't have any type of stupid defensive laps early on. It would be nice to start off a game without that. I know against Aris, I think it was what 2-0, so we didn't really have that. We didn't have that defensive lapse there, but it would just be nice to continue that and get over that weird little slump we have with that. But start off strong, put on a good performance, get ourselves ready for once we start playing against the bigger fish again. Um, Again, the Lamia game, I didn't really this Lamia game from yesterday, I didn't really see anything that really scared me or concerned me. I feel like we kind of controlled the match. Other than that, I honestly, I mean, and all respect to Lamia, but I don't think they even got that first goal if it's not for Kotsira. Our own mistake. Kotsira's handing them the ball. So
Yeah,
um, overall, we could have won that game by a lot more. So I'm hoping to see more of the same. But again, the FC sometimes is a little bit of a funny thing where we'll beat Ike and then we'll lose the next week and then we'll beat Lamia and so I
that's
have
true. That
I have confidence that we'll win.
I think we'll win too. Before 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 this game on Sunday, I saw the lineup and I liked what I saw. Like I already said, I like the two striker formation for this matchup. I said we were gonna win 3-0. I was close. It was 3-1. But the three is the thing that stands out. Like that two striker formation translated um translated immediately. And I know none of the two strikers were on the score sheet, but it's not always about that. Like I said, even if Spore is not on the score sheet, like he's getting into these spaces, he's getting these chances. Forte doesn't have to be on the score sheet. He's pulling players, he's attracting players, he's taking in pressure, giving Spore that avenue, but also giving other players that avenue. Like, Bernard, when he scored that second goal, he was in a center forward's position, right? So
That's right. Yeah.
that's not meaningless. There's something there. So it's not just because it was a two striker formation and neither of the two strikers were on the score sheet doesn't mean the two striker formation didn't work. The two striker formation worked. So would I go with it again against Lamia on Sunday, having seen that they didn't play as close as we expected? Yeah, I think I would actually. I think I would, which is kind of in a way counterintuitive, but if it's not broken, don't fix it, I guess. It worked against Lamia now. I don't see a reason not to do it. I don't think it's 100% necessary. Like if the team sheet comes out before the game and it's just Foti, I'm not going to be like, damn. I think that could work too, but I would honestly just go with a two striker formation again.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat. I mean, I if we run the two striker formation again, I kind of like it because one thing I'm not personally a big fan of as well is like when coaches over tinker. Like if something works and it worked last time and you're gonna play them again, like yeah, you can make like an adjustment here and there, but you don't have to like radically
Yeah,
change it either. So like I'm not gonna be mad if he runs the same type of formation and system again. I mean, it worked the first time. Every game is different, of course, but I mean it worked. So I'm not gonna be, pissed if he goes with that. If he switches it up a little bit, he runs a 4-3-3 or what have you, and he just has Foti in, okay, we can kind of see it as well. I'm not going to be too upset, but it would be cool to see it again. I'd love to just going back to Sporar. I just love to see him if he thrives in that 4-4-2. Might as well get his form and his confidence up because we're
yeah,
going to need him as well to kind of finish off the season. If he can find like a critical form, like with Olympiacos, the striker for Olympiacos that caught on fire, like once they got that new coach, I'm forgetting his
El
name.
Kabi.
Um, he El Kabi, yeah. Once that new coach came in, El Kabi like started catching fire like the right time. I'm like, dude, if Sporar can do that, if we can get him to catch fire, I mean, and we can have him banging in goals too, that's gonna be super, super helpful. And maybe playing him in that 4-4-2 again is gonna help. Um, so that's something that I would love to see. Um, something I wanted to ask Alex, and I actually forgot to mention this in our pre talk. I saw some rumors about Tareem being gone in the summer and that we were going to get Fernando Santos. Like, what are your opinions on that? I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Eye roll is my opinion. Listen, they're the rumors, as far as I know, are coming from Turkey. That's I saw Turkish pages posting it. I mean, I don't know what. First of all, I don't want. Okay, I don't want Santos. Let's just let's just be blunt. I don't want Santos. Um, he's had experience with the club, some 300 years ago. But I mean, the guy just basically failed at Besiktas. I think he lasted what 15 games at Besiktas and got thrashed 4-0 in the first game. Whatever. I don't know what the subsequent games were, but obviously not good if he's lasting only about 15 games. Um, Santos is washed. I think I don't. I know there's positives with Santos. Like he's
Yeah,
what the highest winning percentage in the Ethnic East still, even higher than Otto Hagel and
yeah,
other guys. So I know he's done good stuff. I know obviously he had the Portugal job. He's got a good resume and all this, but at this point, I don't want him. And more so, I don't want him because I want Tareem. Like I want Tareem to stay. I've said this time and time again. I want Tareem to stay, and I want Tareem to stay regardless of what happens at the end of the season. I want him probably to stay even if we win neither of the two trophies on the line. I think he's done enough to gain my trust at this point. He's not been perfect, but again, no coach is perfect, especially not at this level. So he's done more good than he's done bad, and I don't see a reason. On the only scenario that I'm like, okay, I'll entertain Tareem not coming back is if we finish fourth in the standings, don't win the cup, and then subsequently miss out on Europe. Then I'm like, okay, then I could probably the only scenario where I'm like, all right, Tareem out. But other than that, I don't see a reason for Tareem to be even considering himself leaving or anyone who's making these decisions considering to give him the boot. And like we've pointed out in the past, Tareem is bringing in his players. Like these signings that he's bringing in are with the vision of yes, win now, but also I'm going to be here next year. Like he's not making the Maximovic signing now to just leave in 2 months. Tareem, he's not bringing Limnos on a 3.5 year deal who's 25 years old to just leave. I know Limnos is an investment, but you get what I'm saying? Like these signings aren't telling me, oh, I'm here for whatever the short term. So to answer your question, I don't want Santos. I want Tareem, and I don't see a good, strong argument that Tareem is actually on the way out, regardless of what these BS rumors are suggesting.
yeah, yeah. I needless to say, I opened up Facebook. I haven't been on social medias too much the last couple of weeks, and so I think it was like late last week or early last week. I opened up Facebook and I see Fernando Santos, Panathinaikos, and I'm like, what? I'm like, no way, man. And to your point, 300 years ago, I mean, he was the coach in like 2002. I
It
was
was
in like
20 years ago.
kindergarten. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was in kindergarten when he was the coach of Panathinaikos. So uh, it's just no, it's not gonna work, man. I'm of the same opinion. With all due respect to the guy, I think he's washed. I mean, it's 15 games in Turkey. He didn't last with Poland national team, and I think he's better suited to be a national team coach, honestly, than a club coach. No, and the same thing with Tareem. I've been, especially when we signed Tareem, my thing was championship or bust. I'm still, in my opinion, for me, this season has to be championship or bust, in my opinion. But if we don't win championship, I'm not of the opinion that we should sack Tareem. Because again, like to your point, we're bringing in players like Maximovic, we're signing guys, we're looking at guys for the summer so that we could build something. If we get rid of Tareem, it just shows that the club is just not serious. Like
No.
they're just doing stupid things, like just for the sake of it. Like
We don't want to become Olympiacos, man. Like look at the manager
no,
carousel they've been on. And I'm not they you know, I know sacking a manager during the summer is not as bad, and Olympiacos have been sacking managers, mid-season. But another thing I want to point out is that there's a pretty good chance our European run, hopefully, is going to start very early, because there's a scenario where we have to start in the first qualifying round of Europa League, and the games for
right,
that would be as early as I think it's July 11. Don't quote me on that, but it's very early. It's like right after the Euro or like even before the Euro final. So, and again, that's not certain. I'm not saying that's certain, but there is one scenario based on where we finish in the league table and how the cup final goes that we might be playing from for the first qualifying round in Europe, and we have an early start. So even if Tareem already has a hard job to do with this quick turnaround from May 25th at the final ends, the final on May 25th, that's the end of the season, to July 11th, if the scenario plays out. So that's already a quick turnaround. And then on top of that, let's say it's not Tareem and it's a new manager, and he has to acclimate and get the guys going. That's an even bigger ask. So again, that's just one scenario, and that's not a certain, but we need to be in Europe, and I don't see this summer being. We're gonna need to sign players, and there's gonna be changes, but I don't see there any need to overcomplicate things and show Tareem out because it's just gonna set us back, and we're gonna be feeling it. I think in this summer that's coming, which even if we start for the second or whatever round for qualifying, like we got to be on our game. Like
yep, yeah. It a decision like that, and again, I don't mean to bring too much substance into it because it's probably just burdes from those newspapers trying to just talk. But I mean, on the chance that it is real, I mean, just to me, it just shows it's just stupid and it's too reactionary. Um, sacking coaches, like to your point as well. I don't want us to turn into Olympiacos, firing coaches every 2 months for the sake of, let's try and win a championship. Yeah, but the way to win a championship is you need to have continuity. You can't just fire a coach and then, oh, this season, half this season's a waste because the new guy needs to acclimate. Like the problem I notice as well, in like in European sports, like sometimes is like the impatience, especially in Greece. Like there's just a lot of
yeah,
impatience I notice sometimes where it's like the new coach needs to win now, but it's like the new coach needs time, the new players need time, everybody needs to get used to each other. It's like you're not just gonna immediately walk in and it's gonna be roses and dandy. Like you need continuity. So
right.
keeping Tareem is probably the smartest choice, bar anything catastrophic happening. Like to your point, if we finish fourth and miss out on all these things, but for the most part, it's showing positive. It's like just hold on to Tareem, build what we've got. He's only got, I think, during the summer it'll be just like 1 year left on his contract. See it out next year, see what we can do, and if it comes down to it and it turns into just a disaster and we don't win, okay, he's off contract and then we can restart again. So I think that's the best choice.
Also, like, why now? Like, he's actually having a good run now. Like if there was ever a time
Yeah,
to have this kind of reaction, it's when we dropped points to Kifisia and Lamia back to back, right? Like even then, I don't think that's enough to just axe the guy. But like, look, let's highlight the good stuff. We've won three in a row now. We've been calling for consistency. We've said that this team's biggest problem is consistency because like you said, we'll beat Olympiacos one game and then drop points to Lamia. That's inconsistent. But let's highlight the good.
yep.
Three wins in a row. We've won 4 out of 5 in the playoffs. We've collected the most points in the playoffs out of any other team. We've collected 12 out of the possible 15 points. So it's going good now. Like I don't the performances are good and the results are good. Hopefully on Sunday it'll be 15 out of 18 possible points. And then you keep building on that for the last 4 games of the season. So I don't like for this to be a question now is like there have been more concerning times under Tareem, in my opinion, than right now. And then and now both times I've been like, no, like we could be critical, but like I think he should still be here next year. So don't no need to set us back. It's going good. Um that's my take.
Yeah, yeah, I'm of the same volition there. We just keep Tareem. Things are going good so far. Hold on to him, and yeah, I mean, again, I haven't seen any new news from that. Especially after that win against Lamia. So sounds like it's just Bordes.
It's for this.
But something I just wanted to talk about. I'm sure, some fans were thinking about there. Maybe they were concerned about it. So just kind of giving our points of views there. Before we move on to basketball, there's something big coming next year in the Greek Super League, and that's with the proposed new playoff format. So the playoff format is something that's been a little controversial. Some people like it, some people don't like it. People have been calling for it to leave. It's not leaving, but the proposal for next year is that there's going to be basically almost like a three-tier format where first through fourth fight for the title, fifth through eight have no idea what they're fighting for, and then there's that relegation battle. So Greek style, one through four, I like that. Fifth through eight, sorry guys, whoever's the most mid, I guess. And then we have that relegation battle. So Alex, what are your thoughts? Should they have just gotten rid of the whole playoff format, or is this proposal going to make it a little bit better? What are you thinking?
I personally don't like the playoff format. I'm kind of a traditionalist and I just like the latter. Like you play every team twice, one home, one away, the champion is crowned. Um I understand why the playoff format is more appealing in a league like the Greek league rather than a league like the Prem, let's say. I get it. Um, you know, the bad teams in the Greek league are there's a significant gap in quality between 1 and 14 rather than the quality and gap between 1 and 20 in the Prem. So I get it. I get in theory why there's an appeal to it. But the current format, you run into the problem that we're experiencing currently, but also every year that 5 and 6 are playing for anything. So then what happens? Either a team just bends over for another team and gives whichever team they want the hardest time and whichever team they don't want an easy time, whatever. But there's no reason that we should be having teams in a title playoff that are not competing for the title. So I think this, in my opinion, is a step in the right direction. If we're going to continue with a playoff format, I think this is a better format. I think you just should have the teams that are competing for the title actually competing for the title without the effect of the out teams. In a funny way, if anyone plays fantasy baseball or any fantasy, and you're in the playoffs, the way my league is formatted, the teams out of the championship race can add players from the wire, and then it just ends up affecting the teams that are actually in. So you could just be a massive fucking dick. In a funny way, like that's the first thing I thought of. I'm like, this is just this. Like you have teams that are not relevant affecting it. And to be fair, like the devil's advocate point is like, well, you should just be able to beat anyone. Like even if there's a disruptor club, if you're going for the title, just go for the title. Like you shouldn't be complaining about teams that are not in it being disruptors. Fair, but situations like I said, you can just hard or not based on if they want to or not. I'm not saying that's definitely happening, but look at Lamia, for example. Lamia played Toulouse against Ajax. Whether or not that's them forfeiting to Ajax, an effect. So is dramatically weaker Ajax than they are against any other team in the playoffs. Fair. And I'm not just saying that for us. I'm saying that for PAO, for Olympiacos, for Aris. So why the hell are they here?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Even if it's not okay, I'm not saying Lamia is like I'm just gonna let Ajax win. Maybe it's happening, maybe it's not. I don't know, so I can't. I don't want to stress that point. But what I know is that they are literally a weaker side when they line up against Ajax because of this thing that's transpired.
yeah, that certainly is a possibility. We wouldn't be shocked if things like that are the norm in Greek football because we've seen things the last 27 years. But yeah, it leaves the door open to stuff like that. Possibly, it leaves stuff open to um just like you mentioned, like the disruptor club stuff. But that's like really the big thing. And I agree to the point where like yeah, you should be able to beat anybody. But I mean, first through fourth, I like this idea because it's just us four fighting for the title. Like we've made our way there, and playing against like a Kifisia or like a Lamia. Imagine like getting one of your star players hurt against a club where like realistically, no disrespect, but it's like, what are you doing here? Like you don't have a shot at winning the title. You're essentially like you're mathematically out of winning the title. So it's like I'm putting players at risk. I'm putting my team at risk of dropping points or losing points over you could be a blown penalty call away from being screwed. I mean, you never really know in these types of situations. So
Look at the past
first,
2 seasons. Sorry, last
no, go
year
ahead.
we had Volos in sixth. They collected 1 point out of 10 games, and I know it was against us, and I know it actually had a pretty decent effect on our title chances. So that is again, that's a devil's advocate point. Like, look, they collected 1 point and it fucked you. Okay, fine, sure, whatever. But they collected 1 point in 10 games. Why is this team in the playoffs? Like that's not a playoff caliber team. Lamia through 5 games, half the playoffs, 0 points. They will probably end on 0 points. Now they're not. They're gonna fucking get a draw on us on Sunday because I said that. But you get my point. They're on on
Yeah,
on the way to ending these playoffs with 0 points. So these are just two examples,
yeah,
back-to-back seasons. I don't remember what happened the year before that, but just the past 2 seasons, this is what we're having. We're having these teams in the playoffs collect 1 point or 0 points. Like,
yeah. Yeah, and my only criticism really of this new format is just like the fifth through eight. Like I think Panatha fan mentioned, and he was like, "What are they playing for?" That was my exact question when I saw it before I saw his comment. And like it's like, yeah, what are we playing? Like who's the most mid? Like it doesn't make sense. Like I finished in fifth, I finished in eighth. It doesn't matter. Like you guys are still mid table. Like it's not really so that's just weird. Like if they can come up with some type of incentive, I guess, for those mid-table teams, I guess. Last the third tier of the table, it makes sense obviously because you're fighting for relegation there. Who's gonna stay up? Who's gonna go down? For like the top four, it makes sense. Who's gonna win the championship, the European places, things like that. Um, so yeah, those are the big things there. Playoffs are here to stay. It's looking like they're going through this new proposed format.
are they? Are
And
they though?
again,
I think we could probably scrap them at some point. I don't think they're here to stay for now. In the short term,
yes,
they're here to stay, but I think eventually, this is just my thoughts, but I think eventually we're going to go back to a 16 team league. I think this 14 team league is not. I just don't like it. I think it's too few teams. I think 16 team league for this is better. I think the quality is increasing throughout the table. I don't know. That's just yeah.
Yeah, the only reason I can't see it leaving is Greece is like this is probably just like a weird side take, but like Greece is like super big on like sports gambling, pamestikim, all this stuff, and like I feel like having these big games, especially like against the derby teams, I feel like that's just gonna drive the viewership more and the gambling a little bit more. Um, that's just my conspiracy mind driving things there, where I'm like, Falk and Ike playing multiple times, Panathinaikos Ike. I feel like that's just gonna keep driving people to watch and bet more versus like Kifisia and Lamia and all these smaller
Yeah,
teams. And to your
I get
point
that.
earlier as well, like our league is just like not that good quality. Like past like top four, top five, it's kind of like the drop off is just so significant to your point. Like
Yeah,
last place is probably gonna get like decimated by Ike or Pauk or whoever. Um, more traditionally, like if we had a much better league, I think it would be much obviously it would be much better. It's just I think this gambling going on in Greece, having this viewership of all these derbies, probably gonna stay for at least the time being.
yeah,
Maybe further, but they're gonna have to continue to make tweaks to the playoffs. I think this is a step in the right direction, but make some incentive for like the mid teams, because otherwise, it's just kind of like they're just like to me it makes it look like they're an afterthought. But it's
Well,
like,
I it was so funny. I I I first saw the playoff proposal from SDNA, and literally the headline, I sent it to you guys. Literally the headline was um το καινούριο format αφήνει τον Άρη εκτός τετράδας. Like they were literally like
yeah.
saying like Aris is the one out. Like it's like the perpetual fifth team, and they're not wrong, but it was so funny to see like that headline from like an actual news source. It's like Aris is the one left out. It's like okay, like we know, but like it's just it was funny, but
Coming from like an official source, like just confirming what we already are like thinking.
yeah,
That is funny.
yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, that is funny because I remember you said that a couple days ago or like a day or two ago.
yeah.
They're out of the tetrada. Yeah, dude. I mean, it's true. I mean, it's true. They'll likely be out of that. No disrespect to any Addis fans if they're somehow listening to us and if they beat us in the cup final. We never
It's it's
said
as
this, okay?
it's SDNA's words, not mine.
Yeah, it's not us, okay? We're just, don't shoot the messenger, right? Um, Awesome. So that's that new proposed playoff format. So let us know what you guys think. You guys are listening. Comment on our Twitter, on our Instagram. Let us know what are your guys' kind of thoughts on that new playoff format. Is that something that you're happy to see this new proposal? Do you just want us to get rid of the playoffs altogether? Or do you just like this current format that we have? Let us know when you guys listen to this. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Um, in terms of FC stuff, that's pretty much what we've got covered. Um, Funnily enough, me and Alex were talking about this beforehand, but the basketball club actually has some like super exciting stuff going on with it. And we're just gonna kind of dive right into it. We started off this season, Panathinaikos BC, with there's definitely some high expectations. We didn't know exactly where the team was gonna end up in the Euroleague in the regular season. Lots of different guesses. Alex put out a poll of where we thought that Panathinaikos BC was going to end up. Some said top two, others said fourth through sixth, and I think the others said seventh or eighth. Um, Panathinaikos ended up clinching the second spot, so just one spot under Real Madrid, the reigning European championship or European champion. Um, for me personally, I mean, I at the beginning thought that this team's going to be pretty good. We just needed to give it some time. Um, but I'm super impressed. I mean, it's one season of this basketball team being together, and it kind of ties back to what I was talking about with the FC, where fans usually like expect like immediate results like that with the new coach and new players and everything. But we've basically got a whole brand new roster with a brand new coach, and we managed to finish second place in the EuroLeague, which is again, it's a very competitive league. pulling out some impressive wins after that international break. So again, I think we had mentioned that we were hoping to, get 4 wins out of 8, I think it was, before the break. We ended up, you know, pretty much smashing that. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head. But again, we clinched second place against Alba Berlin, final game of the season. It was a little bit shaky at the start. Panathinaikos got themselves figured out, and big performances from guys like Kendrick Nunn helped us see that out and get that second place clinch. So we're just waiting for I think it's Bologna's playing, Maccabi's playing, and one other team. I'm forgetting who they are for that play-in spot for who we're going to end up getting in the playoffs for the series. And I believe they're going to play tomorrow. So we'll find out who we get after they play tomorrow. Um, my opinion is honestly that I think Panathinaikos Basketball Club we can pretty much in a 5 game series. I think we can match up well with anybody. Maybe teams would give us a hard time like Real Madrid. I think Olympiacos would give us a run for our money too. But everybody else, I think I'm pretty confident in our guys. Um, Alex, kind of what is your opinion on everything? Like I remember we started off the season talking about Panathinaikos BC and like where we thought we would end up. Is second place something that you thought we would end up at?
Before the season, no, I don't think it was. I was optimistic, but I don't think I was as optimistic as second place. I don't remember what prediction I made before the season. But I probably was around like, fourth or fifth. That's probably where I was sitting. At least in the regular season standings. So definitely second is very good. I'm absolutely ecstatic about that. We put ourselves in a really good position to make the Final Four because we have home court uh, advantage now. At the when we put out the poll, that was with 8 games left. At that point, I was confident that we would get up to second because the options were 2-3. That was one option, 4-6, and then 7 to 10. With 8 games left, I was pretty confident that we would get at least third, and we got second. But yeah, to answer your question, at the beginning of the season, I was not that as confident, but still, still optimistic. Um, Also, to because you mentioned the play-ins, I think because of the play-in format, our possible opponents are only Baskonia and Maccabi because we get the winner of the 7-8 match, and then the
Right.
loser of that goes to the second match. So we will get the winner of Baskonia and Maccabi. They play a 1 game playoff, and then they come to us. And that starts, I think, on the 23rd. I think the first game is the 23rd, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, yeah, I think so. Yeah, the plans are this week, and then I think playoffs start next week, technically, along with like the NBA playoffs. So, that's going to be super good. Definitely, we could definitely beat Baskonia or Maccabi. Maccabi, I think, are a little bit of a chippier team,
Yeah.
but again, Panathinaikos, we've found our rhythm after the All Star or after the All Star break, after the international break. Adaman was saying that that win against Real Madrid is kind of what pushed the team to believe like, hey, we can actually clinch second.
Yeah.
Um, and we've definitely seen it. The defense we had like a top two defense. I think when we played Alba Berlin, they were talking about that. We have like a top two defense. Funnily enough, it's like the transition. Like I remember around Chris's time, the complaint was our perimeter defense sucked, and we ended up
Yeah.
having like a top two perimeter defense to finish off the season. So we've seen those efforts there. You know, I mean, what more can I really say? I mean, this is something that I'm super happy with. Like DPG spent the money, he got the players, he got the coach. This is the most buzz and excitement that I've seen on the BC in like a long, long time. Like literally last year we were one of the worst teams, and like we're now in second place, so it's like insane. So who knows what we can do? We're just gonna keep supporting, and we're just gonna keep hoping that Panathinaikos can continue this good run into the playoffs where it matters most. A run to the Final Four would be incredible.
Yep.
Um, you know that'll come up next week when we're playing in the playoffs. But today we actually had a really big game against Olympiacos. You know, always these derby games are big. This one was in the league. Um, Panathinaikos ended up coming away with a win. I believe it was 78 71 off the top of my head.
77, I think.
77. 77 71. 6 point win. Panathinaikos came out hot. They had a 16-point lead heading into the second quarter. Olympiacos started to chip away a little bit and found themselves within single digits. Third quarter was very, very
We were
chippy
tied.
for
We were tied at some
Panathinaikos.
point. I think we were tied at
Yeah,
68 late.
yeah, yeah, we were. Yeah, we were. And Olympiacos actually took the lead at one point as well. Um, they had taken a point, they had taken the lead. I believe it was the end of the third quarter. It may have been early in the fourth. And Panathinaikos ended up fighting back. Crazy, crazy game overall, you guys. I mean, we saw technicals flying. We saw Vricies. If you're watching on the Airflix like I was, I mean,
Yeah.
they had to mute the mic because there was somebody just cussing out Barzokas like crazy. And you know, Adamin getting in an argument with Barzokas, and um, we saw Alki wanted us to mention this as well. I mean, Juancho coming out hot. I mean, the guy was playing great defense. He came in with some great dunks, good finishes around the rim. I mean, hats off to Juancho. I mean, I tip my hat to him. I mean, he was a little bit of a disappointment at the start, but he's also been wrapping it up too. And you love to see it in games like this against Olympiacos. Um, I think for me, the cherry on top was the dagger three that Slukas hit right in front of the Olympiacos bench, and then he celebrated. Um, that was just like finally, because I just remember that first game that we played against them with this new team, and like we just couldn't get anything going, man. And it was just they were just being cocky and just celebrating, getting in our faces, and Olympiacos fans saying like, "Oh, Slew Cash," they were calling him, and like that we that we wasted our money on getting a player like him, and he's not a leader. So seeing that again, this wasn't like a playoff game or anything, but it was important to get ourselves some home court advantage. Getting that big win at Oaxaca, Slucas, leading the way. That was just awesome, dude. I mean, I'm really happy that we were able to beat Olympiacos and kind of continue this good run of form. It's just good for team morale. Um, Alex, were you able to catch the game at all today?
Yeah, I was watching. I watched most of it. I was for some parts I was in and out, but Juancho, good shout out. Shout out Juancho. Shout out Alki. Um,
Yeah.
I think specifically on the defensive part, he's been just excellent. Like you said, like he's kind of, you know, not 100%, but like he's now starting to show like the player that we expected to have when we got him last over the summer. So it's nice. It's a real weapon, kind of like the same way that we were talking about Spore. Like it's a real weapon when you could have like an internal metagraphy from a guy who like it wasn't in the picture and then starts playing well and he's like a reinforcement as if he was brought in mid-season. So that's a big plus, especially this late in the season when we need him. So I think defensively uh he's been really solid, and I think the whole team defensively has been really solid because you pointed it out too, like it's kind of flip-flop based on how it was in the first half of the season. But I just noticed that like Olympiacos was having uh, quite a bit of struggling. Apart from being down by 16, 17, whatever it was, they were struggling with a lot of possessions to like find a route to the basket. We were working the clock. Like a lot of their possessions were going down to the excuse me, to the last final seconds, which was to me showing like very good defensive discipline, not making it easy for them, kind of putting them in positions to take low percentage shots and take bad shots. And I think that is what translated to them being down 16, regardless if they came back. But they had a scoring drought of like I think they didn't have a field goal for 9 minutes in the second quarter. You know, regardless of if they came back, like, basketball is a game of runs, like we say. So, that even though they came back, it still affected the end game, how it played out. So yeah, just very solid defensively. I think the game was won on defense personally. Like I think we were good going forward too, but yeah, just a 9 minute scoring drought from the field for them is just like that's telling in itself.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely was. And they made that comeback run. There are certain like defensive lapses that we had when they made that comeback. It's just the big struggle that we have when we play against Olympiacos, and why I don't want to play them in a series is they have us like outgunned at the big man position. Like Dino Mitoglu was guarding Fall, and I felt like he was doing like a pretty decent job. But eventually, like when Olympiacos started making those runs in the third quarter and coming back, and going into the fourth as well, like they were just able to kind of exploit him, and then also like Lasor, with Moses Wright. Like Lasor is a great center, but like the one thing he kind of, compared to like Moses Wright, he doesn't really have like the length that Wright does, so he kind of gets bullied around. I felt like Lasor's like he did good today, but Wright can kind of find his way around as well. So the center position is where we struggle a little bit, but as a team collectively, like I just felt like we did a good job versus Olympiacos was like really focusing on Williams Goss. Williams Goss was kind of keeping them in the game, especially that last like 7 minutes of the fourth quarter. He was just everywhere, man. He was doing what he could, getting those tough baskets. Um, Olympiacos also did a good job of kind of quieting down Nunn. I noticed that Nunn tends to struggle against Olympiacos. I think they target him a lot. And I don't know. I feel like they get in his head too.
He was
Um,
he was in foul trouble early. He had like four fouls at some point in the third quarter. So yeah, that's a
yeah,
good point that you make there.
yeah. They tend to trap him a lot, and like they'll put walk up on him, and they'll switch Cannon on him, and Cannon's a little chippy guy. Like he'll flop, he'll get fouls, he'll get under your skin, he'll piss you off. Like he's one of those kind of players, and like I think sometimes none kind of plays into that and they know it. So he kind of struggled a little bit. Not his usual self. He missed a free throw, um, which is kind of for none that's kind of rare. Um, but overall, I mean, I felt like Juancho did really good. Slucas did really good. Grigonis did pretty solid. Defensively, he still gets he falls asleep sometimes. But overall he did good. Mitoglu did good. He hit some really big threes for us, especially in the first and second quarter, and then down the stretch too when we needed one really badly. He got that three. So it was an overall really good game. The commentator mentioned, not good for both coaches because both teams were kind of letting it fly, third and fourth quarters. But as an overall fan, like it was just great to see, and it was super entertaining to get the win against Olympiacos. We saw some fireworks afterward. Barzokas and Ataman getting into it. Really weird situation. I'm gonna have to like look into that and see like what was said, but we're probably not gonna find too much out, honestly. Ataman and Barzokas are like they're almost like two peas in a pod, a little bit different in how they approach things. They're both kind of proud, arrogant guys a little bit. So I'm sure something was said and they got pissed, but they got over it. Um, it's just entertaining, man. I just love this whole like this version of Olympiacos. I love, and I love that this version of Panathinaikos is here because they're both really good teams, and they're like equally matched with both really good coaches that kind of play that to whoever side you're on, they're a villain, which I kind of like. So as a sports fan, it's just really cool to see. Um,
Yeah, no,
we'll
it's
see.
we've
Oh,
said it
sorry. Yeah,
time
go
and
ahead.
time and time again. Like it's just the BC is just like fun. Like it's just it's been stressful at times during the season. I'm not saying it's all flowers and roses, but the BC is just fun, and like they are just entertaining to watch. The guys are very likable. Like even though we don't, I mean, now we have quite a bit of experience with these guys because it's almost been a full season. But even in the beginning, when we brought in a bunch of these new guys, like very likable guys playing good ball, getting the results. It's really easy to watch the BC right now. And to your point too, like it is really nice, apart from being our eternal rivals, it's really nice to see just the two Greek teams like really be on the pedestal. Like when was the last time the two Greek teams both finished in the top five in the regular season standings? And even further than that, like because if you follow Euroleague on social media, they've been getting like these like you know personalities like ex basketball, ex Euroleague guys, or even some NBA guys like they asked Doncic and stuff like that for their Final Four predictions. And a lot of these guys are not only putting us in the Final Four, but they're putting both Greek teams in the Final Four in their predictions. So it's like again, they're just predictions, but people who know EuroLeague and know basketball in general are backing both Greek teams, which again, this is a Panathinaikos podcast, but it's just really nice to see just the everyone performing. And to your point, like the rivalry is only good if both teams are performing at their best. Like, I'm a Yankees fan, so like recently the Red Sox haven't been that good, and the Yankees were trash last year too. But whatever, like the Red Sox Yankees rivalry has kind of diminished recently because not both teams have been on their A game. Um, but then like you have other rivalries like the Padres and the Dodgers, who both teams have been really good recently. So like that's kind of elevated. So I kind of see it like that. Like it's good for Greece in general for both these teams to be good, but it's good for the rivalry because the rivalry has more meaning when both teams are at the top of their game.
Yep, that's 100% right. And honestly, like with the Agilopoulos brothers, the owners of Olympiacos, like I think they had said something to Giannakopoulos last year, and that fired him up. So it's like in a way, that kind of that rivalry, it
Yeah,
sparked it up. Like, yeah, hey, okay, you want to talk trash? Okay, we're gonna spend a lot of money. We're gonna take Lucas. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that, and it just sparked this whole thing. And it's like that's the fun thing of sports. Like people like will get, especially like in Greece, I think people get really caught up in that like eternal like rivalry thing and all that, and like it gets heated. But it's just if you're a competitor, if you're just a naturally competitive person, you kind of want to play somebody, or you want to go
yeah.
against somebody that's good. You want them to challenge you because when you win, it feels good. You don't want to just
to
beat up
to
on
be
somebody
the to
that's
be the
not good.
best, you gotta beat the best. Coots says that all the time
Exactly.
in the chat. He's like, there's no reason to be scared of anyone. Not scared. There's no reason to like try to avoid someone because like eventually you're gonna play good teams. Like there's no, and
Yep.
we've said this about like our cup runs too. Like what's the point of like yeah, you're happy when you get an easy draw. Like no one's gonna be like fuck, like I wanted the hard draw. Like yeah, of course you're happy when you get the easier draw. But like in any cup competition, in any whatever bracket style thing, like you're gonna have to beat the best at some point if you wanna win the title. So might as well start early, I guess. Like there's no reason
Yeah.
hoping to avoid people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely true. You want to be a competitor, to be a winner, you want to play the best. You want to prove yourself. So that way there's no doubt like, hey, if I played them, would I, have lost, or would I not have been as good? You never know. But I just love it, man. That was just me. I was just like sitting back and just like watching the game, and I'm like, as stressful and as pissed as I get when Olympiacos start coming back, like it's just so entertaining. Like Cannon will hit a three and like do that stupid celebration, and I'm like, yeah, what none will get in. I'm like, yeah, up yours, buddy. Like it's just a fun little rivalry.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just love it. Like I'm a naturally competitive person, so I just like it that
And
it's
and the
just
and the
this good.
Yeah, and the splits of the performances have been like exactly representative of what you're saying. So I think we're undefeated against them in the league. They have us in EuroLeague, and obviously they have the cup the cup winner against us. So it's like, you know, regardless of which competitions are more important or not, like it's like almost a perfect split right now in terms of the season series with them. So it's that just again like points to the competitiveness and the just well matchedness of these teams.
Yeah, yeah, it certainly does. Yeah, we've got like that 3-3 split based around all competition. So yeah, man, it's super good. Like I think McKissick even said it. He's the player on Olympiacos. Uh, last time I think when they beat us in EuroLeague, he was like a playoff series against Panathinaikos would be like insane. It would be like crazy. Everybody knows it, you know.
World breaking.
World breaking for sure, dude. That would be all over Instagram. Like people show like Partizan and Red Star. They'll see Panathinaikos Olympiacos. They're like, okay, this is crazy. So
Yeah.
we'll see, man. We'll see. I just I that's what the thing that I do love about the basketball rivalry is that it doesn't get. I feel like the FC rivalry sometimes can get a little crazy. Like we've seen like those firecracker incidents. We've seen like fan injuries and all this stuff. I feel like the basketball rivalry, you know, even though it's the same fan base, I feel like it's a little more tame. And to your point, like it's just fun watching the basketball team because there's usually not like there's not really Vlakias around it. Like you don't see these stupid point deductions and fan bans and
Yeah.
all these like flares being thrown in fights. So it's just good. Like sometimes I just want to watch basketball. I want to watch this rivalry and I want to see things on the court, not stupid other things. Like in a way, it's kind of like WWE, like you know, like with the
Yeah.
coaches today getting texts and cussing each other out and stuff. But I don't know, man. It's good. It's good stuff. But that's about it, guys. Again, you know, BC, we've clinched second place. Had a huge win over Olympiacos today in the league. Secured our home court there. Had some players stepping up, namely Juancho. Um, Nunn stepped up. You know, I mean, Nunn's been good the whole season, but it's just been nice seeing guys like Nunn and Slukas and everybody really finding their way and leading this team. So um, that's all I've really got. Alex, did you want to add any last things before we head off?
I forgot to mention this with the FC. We before the game against Lamia, I think I mentioned it, but I didn't point it out specifically. We did a space to preview it, which was our first one, and it turned out really good. You can't go listen to it because we didn't record this one, but we have it in mind to do that in the future. But you know, for a first one, we were really happy with how it turned out. So thank you for everyone who tuned in, and we'll definitely try to do more. It might be a little difficult for the Australian guys because of the time difference. The Lamia one worked out because it was earlier for them. I believe it was a midnight kickoff rather than like a 2 or 3 a.m. kickoff. Um, but you know, for us here in America, the kickoffs are much more manageable. Um, but yeah, it was me, it was Sturge, and it was our good friend Chris who also spoke, and I think we had a good chat. Like we really, you know, that was when we saw the team sheet, the lineup. We saw the two striker formation, so we were able to kind of, you know, give our thoughts about that pregame. Um, so we'll definitely be looking to do more of those in the future. And again, thank you for anyone who was there listening. And if you weren't, you know, keep your eye out for the next one because um, we will definitely give a heads up. I think we gave a heads up about this one, but maybe it was a little short notice. But we'll try to give more of a heads up when if we do the next one.
Yes, the spaces were a really, really good idea. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it onto the space. Hoping next time I'll be able to get on if I'm home during that time, just to talk some bala. And you guys feel free. The spaces again are a great time to kind of come in, chime in, you know, spread your opinion, talk about whatever topics Panathinaikos related. It's something that's really cool about that Twitter feature is just going on those spaces and it's a good place for all Panathinaikos fans. I know there's definitely a lot of ones in Greek, and I know we've got some fans that are in diaspora and they don't understand Greek. So coming into a space like ours as well, you can come in, you can share. Just overall good stuff, guys. It's just fun talking Panathinaikos with everybody and getting your different perspective on things. Be sure to follow us on our socials if you aren't already. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. We've also uploaded these podcasts on YouTube. We've got them on Spotify, Anchor, and Apple Pods. Be sure to leave a rating on there, you guys. Please give us a 5-star review. Share it with your friends. Share it with your uncles, your grandpas, whoever's a Panathinaikos fanatic. Would love to have more listeners tune in. This is the American crew. We're signing off. We will see you guys in a couple of weeks. The Australians will be on there for the next one. Take care, everybody.
Bye bye.